You're listening to KSG Podcast. This is a short, crisp, concise, exam-oriented, edited editorial for civil services aspirants. In this podcast, we are going to talk about the first living creature sent to orbit the Earth. Source for the content is the Indian Express. On the 3rd of November 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 2 and made history for carrying the first ever living creature to orbit the Earth, a dog named Laika. The flight, which was meant to test the safety of space travel for humans, ended up as a one-way trip for Laika. 65 years later, here's a look back at why Laika was chosen for the mission, why the Soviet Union sent an animal to space, and if there have been more incidents of animals being sent to space post the Sputnik 2 mission. Now, who was Laika and why was she chosen? Laika was a stray dog picked up from the streets of Moscow just a week before the launch of Sputnik 2. According to NASA, Laika was a female, part Samoyed terrier, originally named Kudryavka, that is, Little Curly. She was later renamed Laika, which is Russian for husky or barker. In the US, she was eventually dubbed Mutnik. She weighed about 6 kilograms. According to a report by Associated Press, the dog was promoted to cosmonaut, a term referring to an astronaut in the Soviet or Russian space program, based on her small size and calm demeanor. The mission wanted female dogs as they were considered anatomically better suited for close confinement. But why did the Soviet Union want to send animals to space? It was not just the Soviet Union that experimented with animals before humans actually went to space. One of the theories that was that humans might not be able to survive long periods of weightlessness. According to US space agency NASA, Americans and Russian scientists utilized animals, mainly monkeys, chimps, and dogs, in order to test each country's ability to launch a living organism into space and bring it back alive and unharmed. Soviet rocket scientists wanted to send dogs to space to understand microgravity and other aspects of what spaceflight might do to a human body. The contenders also had to be female and brightly colored, NASA reported. According to Smithsonian Magazine, rocket engineers selected the animals most obedient and most tolerant of loud noises and air pressure changes for the experiment. Now, was Laika the first animal to be experimented with? Interestingly, it was not, though it is often claimed to be. That distinction goes to some fruit flies that the US launched on a mission in February 1947. Despite Laika's fame, she also was not the first dog in space, as the Soviet Union had launched two dogs named Dezik and Saigon in 1951 before that. However, the dogs before Laika were used only during suborbital launches. The United States launched rhesus monkeys, mice, fruit flies, and rats during the Second World War, with the Soviets keeping close tabs on what the rival was doing with their V-2 and Aero-B missile projects. Soviet rocket scientist Sergei Korolev, along with his team, used research from the American biomedical research to experiment on mice, rats, and rabbits as one-way passengers. NASA's research revealed that they needed to gather data to design a cabin to carry a human being into space. Eventually, they chose small dogs for this phase of testing. Dogs were chosen over monkeys because it was felt that they would be less fidgety in flight. A test with two dogs would allow for more accurate results. They chose females because of the relative ease of controlling waste. Now, before Laika, there were 36 dogs the Soviets sent into space. That's it for this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. To join KSG India courses and to crack the IELTS exam, visit ksgindia.com. You can also get a PDF of this podcast on ksgindia.com.